There are three types of people in the world. The first type are the thinkers, who are often the most successful in life as they have rational, logical plans. They plan to achieve their ambitions in order to advance in life. The second type are the sensitive ones, and they are the ones who move in this life based on what their hearts tell them. They search for love and adventure. They live without planning. As for the third type, they are the indecisive, and they are those who do not have a goal in life and do not know the path. They are stuck in the middle of the road, thinking a lot and feeling a lot, but without noticeable progress. This type is considered in society as failures who do not have goals or ambitions. They have a lot of emptiness. They need a lot of things, but they are always not sure what exactly those things are. My name is Jackson Nordberg. I am 26 years old. I work at a gas station. I prefer to work during the day. My house is 20 minutes from work. My apartment is 1 bedroom. I have an old Volvo car with a lot of breakdowns. I think it is just like me, dead inside. Its color is completely gray, like the color of life for me. I have no goals or ambitions. I have never fallen in love before, and I think I am incapable of that. I am a failure. Yes, I am the third, indecisive type. 2 years ago, I fell into severe depression and was put into rehab. It turned out I was so incompetent that I couldn't even kill myself. I was in rehab for 3 years, and then I had to pass some stupid tests. I knew that, so I pretended I was better so I would be allowed to get out. As soon as I left, I returned home, got a job, and bought a Volvo. I had no choice but to surrender to my routine, frustrating fate like any working-class man. But in that same year, my life changed completely. I believed that I would grow up as I was and my life would never change, but it seems that fate had a different opinion. One day, I was browsing an online forum when I found an advertisement for a forum called SKC, which is an abbreviation for Serial Killers Club. I started browsing the forum. There were not many members, and most of the topics were about daily life. At that time, I had no experience in communicating with others, even on the internet. But over time, the more I read other people's topics, the closer I felt to them. I would wake up at 3 in the morning to read about others, how their day was, what their dreams were, and I felt like I was a friend of these people, even though I had never seen any of them in reality. I wanted to, in sharing what is happening to me as they do, but I felt afraid, because my life is boring and there is nothing worth sharing. I felt anxious, and here I decided to close the forum, shut down the computer, and go back to sleep, but I could not. So I restarted the computer and opened the forum, but I found a message stating that this forum it was closed by the administration, and here I felt very frustrated and lonely again. I tried to sleep, but it was no use. After some time, I fell asleep from extreme fatigue, but my mind remained awake thinking, and in the morning while preparing breakfast, I heard a sound coming from my phone. I did not have friends, and my phone number was not with many people. Only my mother communicated with me, and she often called at evening. Who is this person sending me a message? I grabbed the phone and found it was a message from an unknown number. The message said, "Hey Grim, are you still alive?" My heart dropped to my feet, because Grim, that's my name on the Serial Killer Club forum. It seems that one of the forum members was the one who sent me that message, but how did he know my phone number? I felt an anxiety attack, but after a while I calmed down and began to feel happy, because someone wanted to communicate with me. I started writing a message in order to respond, and the message quickly turned into a full, long conversation. Andromine was one of the girls on the forum. At first, I had no idea who I was talking with, but I quickly recognized her when she sent me her picture. She was special, as she had silky dark brown hair that reached her shoulders, and her skin was pale, but her eyes were very beautiful, full of warmth. Andromine informed me that she would hold an official meeting within 3 weeks, and that there would be 12 members of the forum attending this meeting. She asked me if I wanted to participate, so I immediately agreed. During the days before the meeting, she and I made sure to talk every night and correspond non-stop. Finally, the day of the meeting came. I had to drive my car for 6 hours to get there. I stood in front of the Kroger Hotel sign, feeling happy. I took a deep breath and entered the large hall of the hotel. The place was elegant, and I felt that I was not dressed appropriately for all that. I went to the receptionist and waited for some time until she turned to me. I asked her where the meeting was, and she told me on the way. It was an ordinary room, but it seemed that the beds in the room had been replaced with a round table similar to a poker table, and there was a strange smell in my nose. I sat on my seat after greeting Andromini, but Andromini motioned for me to sit next to her. I went and sat next to her and felt for the first time feelings I had never known her before. I felt seen. There was someone who saw me and cared about me. Everyone sat in their chairs and the meeting began. Everything was strange and surreal. Everyone was excited. Everyone mentioned their names on the forum. Eli spoke, who introduced himself as the leader of the Serial Killers Club, but he was not as I had imagined him to be. He was of average height, wearing a leather jacket. He had broad shoulders and a strong figure. His demeanor was enthusiastic and maniacal. Everyone began to introduce themselves. There were only 3 girls in that group: Andromedy, Jamie, and Bluebird. They seemed completely normal and friendly, wise characters, but in my opinion, Andromeda was the most prominent among them, as she was very normal and had a motherly nature. She seems that she changed her hair color to blue and looked like a superhero. There was a black bag under each of the participants' chairs except for mine. I don't know why, but over time, the strange smell became worse. Eli asked about the entrance fees to the meeting, so each one of them took out the bag that had been placed under his chair, and they opened it. Each bag had a severed head, but I didn't have one, and one member shouted, "Why didn't Grimm bring the entry fee?" And here everyone began to attack me, but Eli shouted as he hit the table, "Enough!" And here silence prevailed, and everyone sat in their seats, and Andromeda spoke to tell everyone that she was the one who had forgotten to tell Germ about the fees, and here everyone calmed down. Some of them were unhappy, but they remained silent anyway. Everyone started talking about how they got those heads, telling stories so strange and cruel that I imagined they were just fantasies or stories, but it seemed like they actually did that. Even Andromeda also talked about what she had done. I then felt like I was in an area of open water surrounded by a group of sharks, the Serial Killers Club. I then realized that it wasn't just a random name. These people were actually real killers. I felt nauseous and thought about leaving immediately, but I couldn't move because of Andromeda's hand that was wrapped around my hand. Everyone was cheering and acting normally, even in the presence of the severed heads placed on the table. Eli began to talk about the group's rules and announced that there are 3 goals each month for all group members, and the winners will be ranked to receive prizes, which will be calculated based on the hunts, and a regular meeting will be held to find out the results of each group member at the Kroger Hotel in the same room, 333. The results will be recorded on a board, and the names of the leaderboards will be written. I felt that what they were talking about was completely inhumane. They spoke of the pride and enthusiasm that they felt. Eli talked about all the results again and said that the person who would achieve the lowest number of points would be the Green Rabbit. It seemed to me the title is cute, but I knew that the Green Rabbit would be the group's target, and they had to kill it within a week. Killing the Green Rabbit gives about 100 points, but if the Green Rabbit manages to survive during the week, he will get 100 points. The meeting finally ended, and I left the hotel feeling like I was escaping captivity. I thought a lot about what Eli said and all the conversations that took place at the meeting, and I thought about Andromeda as well, and then I went back to look at the goals sheet that Eli had distributed to the group. There were 3 names. 1. Jake Winks from Texas, 8 points. 2. Riley Henderson from Wisconsin, 65 points. 3. Susan Hemming from Washington, 99 points. I didn't understand why these people in particular, and I didn't care. I knew I didn't want to see these people again, yet something inside me was telling me it wouldn't be that simple. I finally returned home after another 6 hours of driving. I parked the car in front of my apartment, went back to my apartment, and did not give a second thought about what happened. I did not try opening the forum again. I didn't respond to Andromeda even though I miss her. A whole month had passed since the meeting at the Kroger Hotel, and I gradually began to forget what had happened. I would feel empty and lonely many times, and I would think about Andromeda and that she must be angry because I had been ignoring her in the past days. Well, she stopped texting me anyway. I tried to ignore that I feel sad because I know that what I am doing now is the right thing, and I cannot take it back or go back to that terrifying group of people. While I was returning from work the next day, I found a white envelope in the mailbox of my apartment. I felt strange, as no one had ever written to me before. When I opened the envelope, I found that there was a portable memory. Here I thought a lot about the matter, but I did not dare to try that memory on my computer. I realized the seriousness of this matter. I doubted for a second that the sender was the members of the Serial Killer Club, but I was sure that they did not know my apartment address, so it couldn't be them. I ate lunch, and then I rushed to one of the public libraries near me. I approached one of the computers, and there I put the memory. I did not find anything on the memory except one video file. I looked around to make sure no one was looking at me, and then I opened the video and here it appeared in front of me. SKC Club logo and a written text began to appear in front of me, telling me that I had not been able to complete last month's challenge, and that I was now the Green Rabbit, and the group members were scheduled to start searching for me to kill. For an entire week, the serial killers would head out to search for me and kill me. I felt afraid, but after a few seconds I noticed that the computer screen in front of me was filled with strange lines and codes, and then everything returned to normal, but the video on the memory was not there. It had completely disappeared. Here I took the memory out of the computer and reconnected it, but to no avail. I could not find the video. I quickly thought about what I should do and decided to go to the police, but they looked at me as if I was crazy. I cannot blame them because by searching, they did not find a serial killer forum. By communicating with the Kroger Hotel, the hotel manager assured them that room 333 did not exist in the first place because the hotel only had 150 rooms. As for the names of the participants, I do not know them. All I know are the names they chose for themselves. Even the memory was completely empty, but I left it for them anyway to examine. That night I did not return to my apartment and decided to book into a cheap hotel. I was feeling anxious, yet I tried to ignore my feelings and live normally. It was only 1 week. Well, that's okay. 4 days passed, and I thought of returning to my apartment to look and reassure myself. I was trying to convince myself that all this was just nonsense. But when I approached the apartment, I found that there was a strange car whose numbers seemed to be from another state parked next to the house, and here I thought that they had already arrived at my apartment, but I also told myself that it might be someone else's visitor, not necessarily affiliated with that crazy group. But I left anyway. This evening I decided to sleep in spite of I was worried, but I woke up at exactly 2 in the morning to go to the bathroom, and then I started to hear a noise coming from the side of the room's door, and soon I heard the sound of the room's door opening. I felt afraid, especially since my phone was outside and I could not call the police or anyone. I looked around to search for some weapon to defend myself. All I found was a water kettle. I turned it on and then took the pipe for the bathtub curtain and held it. I could feel the movements of this person outside, and soon I heard him heading towards the bathroom. The door was dilapidated, and I was surprised when the person outside hit it, and it did not open. But I heard him walking away, and I understood that he would quickly return to hit the door. So I grabbed the kettle where the boiling water was, and as soon as the door opened in front of me, I threw boiling water in the man's face and hit him with the curtain pipe. He fell to his feet, screaming from the pain of the hot water, and here I hit him again. I didn't kill him, but he was definitely injured in the head and lost consciousness. I called the police, who came quickly, and they began to take the matter seriously. They interrogated me again, and I told them everything from the beginning, and here they tried to investigate the matter further. I returned to my home after leaving the police station. As soon as I got home, I found a message on my phone from a private number and wrote. It said, "You won." I didn't care about it, and the next day I checked the mailbox again to find a new envelope. This time I opened it to find a smaller envelope with one word written on it. I opened the smaller envelope and found a picture of my mother and father. It was not an ordinary picture. The picture was of them sitting on a chair in the living room of their house, with their hands tied and mouths gagged, and between them stood a person wearing a terrifying mask and holding in his hand a countdown clock showing that I had only 6 days and 3 hours left. Here I realized that there was a flash drive with the picture. I turned it on in my computer. I found a message stating that I was facing the second challenge, and then words came explaining that this stage is after announcing the people who were defeated in the first round, and then an explanation of the rules of the second round, which is simply that the killing must be brutal with a lot of blood, and they will not accept anything less than killing. Otherwise, they would kill the people in the picture, and then the address and information of the person wanted to be killed was displayed in front of me. For the second time, the screen in front of me turned into lines and everything disappeared from memory. Here I did not think much. I knew that the police would not offer much and that someone was watching me, especially that there was a message warning against getting the police involved in the matter. I tried to contact my father and mother several times, but did not find an answer, and here I decided to take action. There was no time to waste. I did not have a gun, and there was no time to buy one. I only had a samurai sword. I bought it as a joke years ago. I carried a sword and made sure to take a number of sharp knives. I rode my car in the direction of the house of the person I wanted to kill. I drove 15 hours straight until I reached it. I arrived in the evening. It was late, but I headed straight to the house. I found myself outside. His car had the same information that was shown in the video, and here I noticed that the house was much larger than one person could live in. I was afraid that he would have a family and children. I had not thought about it before. I decided to go to a hotel, and there I tried to sleep for at least an hour in order to regain my focus. I closed the door well and went into a deep sleep. I woke up, put on my clothes, and got back into the car. I arrived at this person's house, and here I noticed that there was a back entrance to the house. I climbed the fence and stood in front of the back door, trying to unlock the door. It was not difficult. I entered the house. I started to wander between the rooms. It was clear that the house was completely empty of people. Here I noticed a strange smell. I tried to follow it until I reached the basement of the house. I went down and did not find anything except a deep freezer in one of the corners. I could feel that the smell that emanates from it, and I actually got there and opened it, and found the body of a woman inside, and it began the stages of decomposition. On the other side, I noticed that there was a camera completely fixed on me, and here I knew that the person I had to kill knew that I had entered his house, and that he must be ready to kill me. I returned to the hotel thinking about what he should do. I took out a picture of my father and mother and looked at it, and decided that there was no other solution. In fact, I went again to this person's house. It was the middle of the day and I was feeling difficult about what I intended to do, but I decided that I would not hesitate even if I was going to be killed tonight. At least they would leave my mother and father. I prepared the samurai sword, knives, and also a mixture of Molotov cocktails in a bottle. I arrived at this person's house again, and I was preparing to open the door lock, but I found the door already open. He must be waiting for me inside. I entered and immediately headed downstairs and noticed that the lighting was on. I threw the Molotov cocktail, which ignited immediately, and then I felt movement below. I quickly hid in one of the corners, and then I was sure that there was someone downstairs trying to get out. Indeed, the man came out from below and was holding a gun in his hand, but with one stroke of the sword, I cut off his hand. There was a lot of blood, and the man's arm holding the gun was on the ground next to him. He was screaming and begging me to leave him. He told me that he did this for his wife. She had been kidnapped and he wanted to protect her. I told him, "I'm sorry," and with one blow I cut off his head. His head fell next to him and the place around him turned into a pool of blood. I stood in front of him crying. I had just killed a man. My tears were falling. I could not believe what I had done, but I felt the heat of the fire around me. I hurried out of the house and got into my car and noticed that the whole house was on fire at that moment. I returned to my house feeling exhausted, and then I found a message on my phone. "Congratulations, you are the first to win. You have advanced to the 3rd round." I did not care about it and felt like I was suffocating. I tried to call my father and mother, who told me that they were fine, and when I asked them about the past period, my mom did not mention any strange thing. When I asked her about the photo, she told me that one of my friends visited them and that he asked them to take that photo to trick me on Halloween. I asked my mother why she did not answer her phone when I called her and my father. She told me that they had received an invitation a week ago to a tourist resort where the use of phones was prohibited, but a problem had occurred and they were returned to their homes today in the morning. I hung up the phone and sat thinking about it. I don't know if I was dreaming or if what was happening was real. I have turned into a murderer, and I don't know who is behind everything that is happening to me. I cannot go to the police now. I cannot tell anyone what happened to me. I do not know what to do. I'm thinking of killing myself. A new message has just arrived on my phone. "Welcome to the Serial Killer Club. Wait for instructions for round 3.